Hey guys, how are you? Hope you're all having a fantastic whatever time it might be in your part of the world. Here in Australia, it's a fairly pleasant evening. We're coming close to summer, so we're in spring now. So the evenings are getting a little bit warmer, which is good. So I thought before I go to bed, I'm going to share another movie review with you all. So hopefully you're not sick of me yet, and you still find some use of these reviews. So the film I'm going to be reviewing is a little bit different. This is going to go back into mainstream Hollywood. So a good friend of mine sent me a package, and I want to review all the films that he sent that I've actually come about to watch. So tonight is going to be from the USA, English language, released in the year 2010, directed by Michael Winterbottom, and this film is called The Killer Inside Me. So The Killer Inside Me takes place in 1950s America, in this community where they respect a young sheriff deputy. Now, this young sheriff's deputy, he is very charming, very handsome, just a really young sort of up-and-comer. So they all respect him, but what they don't know, the community, is that this sheriff has a different side to him. And that different side is very dark and very psychotic. But basically the opposite of what the community are used to. So the sheriff's deputy is trying to hide this other side to him, but that's becoming increasingly difficult because he has complications in his private life. So he's got a woman that he loves dearly, but he also starts an affair with a prostitute. Now, he was assigned the task to evict this prostitute out of town, but he has since fallen in love with her. So he's got a lot of complications there. So when things start to get very tense, his other side starts to come to front. And this is where he decides that the best way to sort out his complications is through murder. And this brings about the suspicion of the authorities, and a few more people come into his life and start blackmailing him. So all of this is going to lead up to a very shocking climax that I'm not going to give away. So if you want to know more, please go out there and see this film for yourself. Now my thoughts on The Killer Inside Me. This is actually a pretty good film. Now, it does have its positives, but unfortunately it does have its negatives. Now, the positives are it's a very brutal film, and I feel that Michael Winterbottom has displayed what a psychotic killer film should be about. That is not entertaining. It's a movie you survive. It's a movie that you don't necessarily want to see again very soon. Now, there is a problem with the replay value, but that wasn't a problem. It's like Martyrs, a very provocative film, a very sledgehammer approach, where it hits you so hard and you have to catch your breath before you watch it again. This movie has that quality. I thought that the main character of the sheriff's deputy, played by Casey Affleck, was a fine performance. I think that performance alone warrants at least a viewing. I thought his character was both very charming and very sinister at the same time, and it was a typical sort of psychotic character. So that was my biggest criticism of the film, is the fact that if you've seen this type of movie before about a psychopathic individual hiding that sort of identity away through the facade of charm, and kind of like two sides to one person. It's a very common formula as far as psychotic killer films are concerned, and it follows the same sort of stereotypical formula in that you've got this charming guy, and then it goes through to flashbacks and it shows you his upbringing when he was a child, and it gives you a certain sense of control, knowing why he is doing what he is. And a lot of people like that, but for me, I don't like it. I'd much rather have this sort of film not explain anything. You don't know why he is doing this, and that makes that character even more sinister. But these sorts of movies, they're obsessed with giving you insight into how they come about. Everything has to have a reason. And I thought that the reason why this movie is just like any other is because it goes down into that stereotypical bad upbringing. And yes, how you are raised is how you become, what you become. So in that, I can understand it, but I would have much rather something different. I thought Casey Affleck's character would have been even more sinister if you didn't know why. You didn't need to know that, child abuse is implied. You didn't need to know that. What you need to know is the fact that he's a psychopath. And not everything in reality is explained like that. So I feel that it's kind of giving the audience a sense of control. You know why he's doing this, but if you don't know why someone's doing it, you're left out of control. And that was my biggest, positive for the film I've just reviewed called Surveillance. Jennifer Lynch in that film doesn't give you any control, so you don't know where she's going to take you. But this film, it does have a sense of control, and you kind of know where it's going to lead to and what the outcome is going to be. But as I said, Casey Affleck's performance as this killer was absolutely fantastic, a very underrated performance. I feel that if this movie is anything to go by, he has a very bright future. He was very menacing, but he was very subtle. It wasn't like he was trying to overact the character. So that was really good. Unfortunately, with that positive comes a negative. Now, the negative from that is that the whole focus is on Casey Affleck's character, and the characters of the supporting cast were very shallow, and that was a pity because the supporting cast, you've got Jessica Alba, who plays a prostitute, and Kate Hudson, who plays his love interest. So they're big names. And then you've got Bill Pullman right at the end, who has a cameo. So I felt that these supporting roles didn't need big names. What they needed was just nobodies to make it even more realistic. So you get really big names put into a film, and sometimes it takes the realism out. So they don't feel like nobodies. What it feels like is that the characters aren't really in depth, doesn't require a strong performance, but what it feels like is that the director is desperately trying to put big names up there to sell the film. So it feels like an act of desperation rather than, giving these actors who are big names a big sort of role. So the supporting cast, as I said, very shallow, and it doesn't feel like it goes anywhere. So apart from Casey Affleck's character and the very brutal violence and, showing violence for what it is a stereotypical, it's a film that you've seen before, and it's a film that, yeah, it is good, but then it's not a movie that is going to blow you away. It's not a movie that you're really going to remember in a few weeks' time. So for that, I thought, apart from, the obvious big things about the movie, the violence and the director not confining himself to the rules of Hollywood, I like that approach, and I think it's got balls, and it shows you that he's willing to push the boundaries. But apart from the violence, you push the Casey Affleck character aside, it is very thin. And for that, I just feel that it destroys the replay value. I thought there were a few inconsistencies towards the end. I kind of umming and ahhing about certain events, and I thought the ending was a little bit far-fetched, but I thought it stayed true to the overall tone that the movie has. It's set in the 50s. I thought it was very authentic feeling. The music is very 1950s, so it's a different kind of era. I like that. And there are moments in the film that are very good, but unfortunately, as I said, you strip away the high impact themes, and then you pretty much haven't got much. So it is a movie that you have seen before, and if you passed up on the opportunity to watch the film, you're probably not missing too much. So it is a very disturbing movie. If you like that kind of thing, I would say definitely go and see it, because it shows violence for what it is. It's not excessive, it's not entertaining, it's very cold, very brutal, very realistic, and it shows what a psychotic killer would really be like. So for that, I would say definitely recommended, but as far as a great film is concerned, it's certainly not that. So overall, The Killer Inside Me, I liked it, but as I said, in a few weeks' time, I probably won't remember it. So I'm going to give it 3 stars, and it's definitely going to come recommended for at least one viewing. Alright guys, that's my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.